I'd like to thank our reader, Cindy Levy, for the wonderful job she did this week reading, and Gary Lynn Floyd, Karen Drucker, and the CSL music team for our fabulous music today that supports the message. Today we're wrapping up our mini-series on the 4 kingdoms of consciousness and exploring the spiritual kingdoms of consciousness. Kingdom 3, where life is done through me, and Kingdom 4, where life is done as me, in the oneness. Again, you can walk away with some tools so you can learn to move into those kingdoms throughout your days and live in that non-linear spiritual realm of life. So we continue our wonderful 2023 spiritual journey today with our weekly title, The Spiritual Kingdoms of Consciousness, Living in Love and Oneness. So here's your question for the week. What is the one choice you might make today to live in integrity with who you are? To allow things to flow naturally in your life, to see everything through the eyes of love, and to walk hand in hand with the divine. One more time. What is the one choice you might make today to live in integrity with who you are, to allow things to flow naturally in your life, to see everything through the eyes of love, and to walk hand in hand with the divine? So because we're wrapping up, here's a quick review of what we've gone through so far. In the past few weeks, we've been looking at the linear kingdoms of consciousness, in which things are either done to me or by me. We started with Kingdom 1 of victimhood, the to me kingdom. And that's the kingdom where we notice blame, where we're trying to find someone to blame for all of our own actions. And sometimes the person we blame is ourselves, because we feel like it happened because we were stupid or did something wrong. We were a victim of our own actions. You might recall that Kingdom 1 is the powerless world. And when we let go of blame and step into integrity in our life, we move into Kingdom 2, take control of our life, and take back that power. Now, just to clarify, sometimes taking our power back means talking with somebody about what has happened, getting empathy for it. To reach Kingdom 2, we have to release those pity party and quit telling the story about what happened to me. Then we can move on and create a story that empowers us, a story that embodies what actions we might take to actually manifest the result we want to see in our life and in the world. And this is the kingdom of by me. We're all capable of overcoming the pity party and perhaps a bit of storytelling. And then we can live in a world in which we know that we have the power to create rather than react to things. Creation is so much more wonderful. This is the stage of our journey where we get to discover that we are far more capable than perhaps we've ever realized. We're not victims of circumstance, and the by me stage is about building and rebuilding our actions so that they're grounded and focused and self-driven. The second kingdom requires focused determination and sometimes sweat, and we leave with a sense of personal accomplishment. I did it, I can do it. In the by me stage, we move past victimhood and begin to emerge with that personal sense of ownership for our life, knowing that we create our own life. And this is a powerful step on the path to enlightenment. Kingdom 2 is a great human place to live, And a lot of us spend our time there. But it's not the most enlightened place in our kingdoms of consciousness. It is about manifesting, which to some extent we must do on this planet, because we have these rental-bodies that need shelter and food and all of that. But let's see what happened if we moved out of Kingdom 2 and into Kingdom 3. Remember when you learned to ride a bike or possibly to play an instrument? It was really difficult at first. Perhaps in riding your bike you fell off a lot, or in playing that instrument you played a lot of wrong notes. It took a lot of practice to get to the place where you could ride your bike with ease or play that instrument feeling that the music was really flowing through you and it was effortless. When we do something over and over again, it becomes effortless for us, much like the surfer becoming one with the wave. This ability to let go of the by me and controlling our lives is what it takes to move into Kingdom 3. When we move into recognizing that there is something greater than ourself and realize that we really aren't truly in control of things, we can allow things to flow naturally. And that's when we enter Kingdom 3. Do you remember how it felt to ride that bike effortlessly or to play that instrument with ease? That sense of being part of something bigger than ourselves is what Kingdom 3 is all about. The third kingdom represents a critical shift in our consciousness from the human linear cause and effect consciousness to the non-linear domain of spiritual reality in which life is happening through me. When I was doing the overview of all the kingdoms, I said that Kingdom 3 is a kingdom in which we see everything through the eyes of love. Love becomes the dominant energy and motivator in our lives. We begin to partner with Spirit to co-create life and circumstances. And we learn to give people the benefit of the doubt. I want to repeat those words of Ernest Holmes that I stated in the meditation today. There, through the door of our own thought, we enter into a complete realization of life and truth, of love and beauty. And as we sit in the silence of our own souls and listen, it will be the greatest thing we will ever do. As we sit in the silence of our own souls and listen, it will be the greatest thing that we will ever do. Entering into that realization of love and beauty, life and truth, is truly entering Kingdom 3. We might not spend a lot of time in Kingdom 3, and it's obtainable as long as we can stay in the knowing that we are the eyes and the ears, the hands and the feet of the divine. And truly, the divine is moving through each of us so that we can do what we came here to do and be who we came here to be. We don't have to worry about manifesting anymore because, as you heard in the reading, I draw from the spiritual treasure house all that I need. There's always a bit of Kingdom 3 in my Sunday messages. I spend time during the week researching and writing the message, and then I surrender to the divine and allow the divine to guide me to say what needs to be said. This is through me consciousness, just surrendering to the divine, letting go of my personal significance and allowing my words to be part of something greater than me, part of something that allows every person that is hearing this message to become more connected with their divine self. What I've come to notice is often there's a lot of what I have researched or written in my talk, and some Sundays there's very little of it. And it's always exactly what needs to be said. After a couple years in ministry, when my talks were going where I hadn't planned them to go, I realized that if I did my part and then surrendered so that the divine could always take over gracefully, that it created a message that was significantly better than I could possibly imagine. If you've been listening to this series, you might recall that I talked about my experience in Kingdoms 1 and 2 with respect to the CARE Act loan, which I had applied for the center. When I finally got out of my own way and prayed for the highest and best income, and could even get to the point where I could voice out loud that if our center didn't get the money, then it went to someone else that needed it even more. When I actually surrendered, that was Kingdom 3. The divine stepped in and finished it off with ease and grace, and we got the loan. Ralph Waldo Emerson told us to hitch your wagon to a star. That tells us to quit playing small, to reach for things that might seem out of reach. And when we enter the through me consciousness, we go from a sense of personal significance and being grounded in our own achievements to feeling a sense of humility about being part of something greater than ourselves. Therein lies the key, being a part of something greater than I am. And I always say there's a power for good and we can use it. When we do use it, we're in Kingdom 3, recognizing that the power is moving through us as we walk this planet. I don't remember if you recall a few years back, there was a school shooting in an Amish community. It was a one-room school. Actually, on the blackboard, they had a sign with a teddy bear, and the sign read, "Visitors, bubble up our days." Well, it was a visitor that came in and shot a lot of children. What struck me was that the Amish parents whose children had died in that shooting stepped up immediately and forgave. They were certainly living in Kingdom 3, loving the shooter while not condemning his actions and living in forgiveness. So I told you last week I was going to finish the story about TT the turtle. To catch you up, last week I told you about TT. He was burdened by his shell when he was born, and he moved between Kingdoms 1 and 2, sometimes being aggravated about his shell and how heavy it was to carry on his way to the river, sometimes forgetting his burden and watching the butterflies or enjoying the nature around him, which is the times that he moved into Kingdom 2. The problem was that TT wanted to be something he wasn't. He wanted to be a butterfly who could fly high in the sky, or the rabbit who could hop along the paths with ease and grace. We left the story as Bunny, the rabbit, had turned TT's shell over, uprighted him so he could at least walk again, and Bunny was walking him to the river. TT was very content with his shell, and when he asked Bunny how he could get rid of it, and she laughed and said, "That shell is part of you being a turtle," he was none too happy with that answer. He didn't want to carry this burden all his life, and he was living in Kingdom 1. So as they walked along to the river, TT continued to moan about his heavy shell, and Bunny was trying to help him understand that having a shell was part of being a turtle. Since TT was having none of that, he was giving himself a real pity party. and living in Kingdom 1 until they finally reached the river. Well, Bunny encouraged him to keep going to the river, that this was as far as she was going. And TT just kind of looked at the river. Reluctantly, TT made it to the edge of the river and eased in. When he was in the river, he noticed that his shell was no longer a burden. It actually helped him to navigate, and he was able to see all these beautiful sights in the water. He became so delighted that he totally forgot about wanting to get rid of his shell, and he became one with it, embraced all the things that he and his shell could do together. He was in Kingdom 3, in partnership with his shell, in the same way that Holmes reminds us of the delights of partnership with the divine. In Your Invisible Power, Holmes writes, we must claim this partnership as our own, accept the counsel of our silent partner, God, and realize all that we create through this partnership always results in more good. While partnering with the divine is certainly a wonderful place to be, there's yet another level of consciousness, Kingdom 4. In Kingdom 3, we begin to see with the eyes of love and experience a sense of greater flow moving through me consistently in our lives. The next stage is the profound realization that whatever is moving through me is also inside of me. When we come to recognize that this greater energetic force and I are actually made of the same source material, we move into Kingdom 4. Kingdom 4 contains the level of consciousness known as enlightenment or illumination. And in this kingdom, life is done as me, though that's not entirely correct. Kingdom 4 is about oneness and self-realization. So there's actually no sense of the individual identity, which would be the me. So the as me truly is as one. You are spirit expressing on this planet. All sense of separation disappears completely in Kingdom 4, and we experience the truth of unity with all that is. For many people, claiming the power within as me, claiming to be an individual expression of this greater force, which is now moving, breathing, and acting in the world as me, might seem to be arrogant, or it might seem impossible. Jesus certainly lived there. Buddha lived there. But can I be like Jesus or like Buddha? All my great master teachers knew how to claim the power of the divine and become one with it. And that's exactly what we have to do when we're in Kingdom 4. Kingdom 4 is the ultimate destination of our journey. In this kingdom, we allow our individual expression to merge completely with the energy we experience or are creating in the world, with that infinite reservoir of life that is within us, just waiting to be let loose. We recognize we're actually part of that infinite creative force of the universe. There's only one life, and that life is my life now. When we reach this level of consciousness, the little S self is replaced by the presence. There's technically no longer a me for things to be done as. There have been many times in my life when I felt so filled with spirit that I could feel that flow as me, as one. I knew it wasn't me, but the connection with the one that I was feeling. Sometimes I felt whelmed with that presence, and other times it just flowed naturally. Often when I pray for myself or for others, I can get so lost in that connection that the words coming from my mouth, if I'm praying out loud, are not of my making. They're rather of the making of the connection of that one life. I suspect that we've all had Kingdom 4 experiences, something that perhaps felt out of this world or felt so amazing that it seemed to be a miracle in which we were participating. Lesson 156 of A Course in Miracles is, I walk with God in perfect holiness. I walk with God in perfect holiness. That's what Kingdom 4 is all about. Knowing we walk with God. Knowing we're one with the divine. Walking this planet in love. And that lesson goes on to tell us things that are much more insight about Kingdom 4. So I want to read a little bit of that lesson right now. There is a light in you which cannot die, whose presence is so holy that the world is sanctified because of you. All things that live bring gifts to you and offer them in gratitude and gladness at your feet. The scent of the flowers is their gift to you. The waves bow down before you, and the trees extend their arms to shield you from the heat and lay their leaves before you on the ground that you may walk in softness, while the wind sinks to a whisper round your holy head. The light in you is what the universe longs to behold. All living things are still before you, for they recognize who walks with you. The light you carry is their own, and thus they see in you their holiness. The scent of the flowers is their gift to you. The waves bow down before you. There is a connection, a oneness. The light you carry is the light of everyone in the world. And everybody can see this holiness if we just surrender to it. I love what the lesson has to offer us as a prayer. I walk with God in perfect holiness. I light the world. I light my mind and all the minds which God created one with me. Wow. Now that is living in Kingdom 4. In the oneness of the light and the love and the glory in which God created us. Imagine being as one with all beings, like a ray from the sun or the trees or the waves and the wind. Let me end with these words of Ernest Holmes. They're from This Thing Called You. You belong to the universe in which you live. You are one with the creative genius. Back of this vast array of ceaseless motion, this original flow of life, you are as much a part of it as the sun, the earth, and the air. There is something in you telling you this, like a voice echoing from some mountaintop of inward vision, like a light whose origin no man has seen, like an impulse welling up from an invisible source. There is something in you telling you this, that you are one with that creative genius, that you belong to the universe in which you live. Wow. I hope you can remember these words this week and can hear that voice echoing as you walk with the divine this week. That voice that invites you to remember who you are, a child of the divine, created in the light, in the love, and in the glory of God. So in summary, how might you remind yourself to notice when you're not living in the spiritual kingdoms and remember that you are one with all of life and with the divine? Well, let go of trying to control your life. Know you're capable of overcoming any pity party and believe that you are the creator of your life. Let love lead the way. No, there's something greater than you. As Emerson said, hitch your wagon to a star. Let go of your personal significance and sit in the silence of your soul and listen for guidance. Remember, we're all one. Know the power of the divine is within you and with everyone else walking this planet. There's truly no separation, and there's truly no individual identity. There's only unity. You walk with God in perfect holiness and light the world. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it I so easily and willingly live in integrity with who I am? Allow things to flow naturally in my life. See everything through the eyes of love, and walk hand in hand with the divine. And your challenge for the week? I invite you to pause throughout the day and just notice if you've located those spiritual kingdoms of consciousness any time thus far that day. And if not, maybe it's time to just pause and take a moment and let love lead the way. Check in at night. See how you did in living in those spiritual kingdoms. How often did you ask the divine to walk with you? And how well did you shift to seeing love and oneness when things were coming into your life that were unexpected? Let's pray. Oh, we just take a deep, nourishing breath. We breathe in that love, that connection, that unity with all of life. We see it in the waves. We see it in the trees. We see it in the wind that creates the breeze. And knowing that I am one with all that God is, I know that to be the truth of everyone on this planet. So what I know for us this week is that we are walking with the divine. We are being the eyes, the ears, the hands, and the feet of the divine. That we are looking past our individual expressions and seeing that greater good, that greater divinity, that greater unity of all. So I'm grateful that you've spent some time with us today, learning about the spiritual kingdoms of consciousness. I'm grateful that I know that wherever we are, God is. And it's from that gratitude that I just release my word into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing the truth that right where we are, everything is connected. There's but one life, God's life, and it's my life and your life right here and right now. So I just take these words, I release them into the law that always says yes. I let it be. I say amen. And we affirm it together. And so it is. I continue to be grateful for all the people that support us every week, for those tithes that come in through Venmo, through checks. And I am so grateful to be the spiritual director for this community. My heart is filled every week with this ability to be in connection with you. So enjoy our offertory song. Sing along.